All right, guys. So, Peacemaker. Here we go. It stars John Cena, Danielle Brooks. Well, John Cena is Christopher Smith, aka Peacemaker. Danielle Brooks is Leota Adebayo. I'm probably mispronouncing.
Adebayo.
Okay. Freddie Stroma is Vigilante. Chuck Woody Iwuji. How much would Chuck? As Clemson Mern. Jesus Christ. Jennifer Holland as Amelia Harcourt. Steve Agee is John Economos. Robert Patrick is Augie Smith. And Annie Chang is Detective Sophie Song. So before we go into any spoilers, guys, what was just kind of your spoiler-free overall impressions of the show?
I did not like the opening sequence over and over and over.
You know what's funny is, like, before I watched this show, like, I saw people online and on Twitter and stuff, like, ranting and raving about that opening.
Like in a positive light?
Yeah, like, they loved it.
Damn.
And then I saw it and I'm like, I mean, it didn't bother me like you, but it's one of those things where I was like, no, all right, okay, dance sequence.
I could be okay with, like, one time, but it's like the next episode rolls around, I was like, I gotta watch this again.
I mean, you can hit the skip button if you want.
Yeah.
You're too lazy for that, so you pay the price.
I just like to lay under the covers and do nothing.
The theme song's not bad, though. But okay, going back to the show, like, besides the opening theme, what do you think?
It was okay. It wasn't as bad as I thought it could be.
That sounds like an endorsement. What about you, AJ?
Yeah, I liked it. It was a fun spin, and DC doesn't normally have shows that are, I think, this good, so I liked it.
Yeah, it definitely has, like, a more polish than, like, the CW shows, that's for sure.
Yeah, as far as DC goes, I think better than average.
I mean, I'll say that I think I felt very similar to it as I did of the Suicide Squad, which cheap plug, you can go back and watch our review of that on our channel, which is like everybody was like raving about it, and I was curious about it because it does, it's written by James Gunn, and I do like the Guardians movies a lot. But I think I came away just the same as with the Suicide Squad. I was like, yeah, this is all right, but I don't feel like I like it near as much as everybody else does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like a good, not great territory for me. But
well, it tiptoed into like kind of a weird area, right? Because like we'll get into the story later, but it kind of like tries to avoid politics while still like kind of getting into like right and left
until the last episode when it kind of for a minute leans hard into it.
Yeah.
I guess before we get into spoilers, like, what do you guys think of like the overall like performances by? Well, like, let's go with the lead, John Cena.
Yeah, I thought he was good. He was funny. I didn't think he was going to be a comedic actor, but he knows his comedy.
I think he's better at comedy roles than like more serious stuff. Although I think that's mostly what he's done since he's been acting. But like, so maybe he could surprise us in a dramatic role. But I don't know. I think he'd have a harder time with it.
Yeah. I don't think we've seen too much range in the drama section.
I didn't see the Fast and Furious movie he was in. Maybe pull a dramatic turn on that.
Oh, my bowels are taking a dramatic turn. I might have to disappear for a minute.
Dun dun dun. Let's see where this leave people on
the suspense build.
It's building.
Man, I'll ask you this before we get into spoilers. What do you guys think of the overall humor in this show? Because that's something James Gunn's like known for. And for me, like, I felt that a lot of the humor fell flat. Like, it definitely is amusing moments, but a lot of the humor, I don't know. I didn't find myself LOLing a lot during this show. Like, sometimes I was like, yeah, that's amusing, but I don't know. I didn't find it like rip-roaringly hilarious or anything.
I feel like that's part of getting older is like you anticipate too much. So you don't get the surprise and you're just like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like a more like intellectual, oh, that's amusing. Yeah.
That could be it.
I mean, there was like once an episode I'd be like, oh, that was funny. That was
It came up, yeah.
But especially like some of the interactions between him and Vigilante were like so cartoony that I'm like, I don't think this is a conversation even these guys. But
yeah, maybe part of the is like the relationship between the two people, whether the humor works or not. And I don't know, like everybody in the hardcore girl, like that's kind of like a tough relationship and never really melded with anybody. I mean, the black girl's got kind of that bubbly kind of personality that is kind of like comic relief.
That's true. Yeah, it was a weird dynamic, but okay, should we get into spoiler territory, guys? All right, spoilers ahead. So, I think TV shows are a little harder to review than movies just because there's so much more material and it's hard to kind of remember everything. So, I pulled up IMDb and just kind of brought up like the episode list just to kind of remind me of some of the plot points. So, episode 1, A Whole New World. I'll just read like the plot breakdown. Chris Smith gets out of the hospital months after recovering from injuries sustained in Corto Maltese and finds Task Force X waiting for him with a new mission with Chris as Peacemaker. While Chris meets with his team, he has a one-night stand that turns deadly when a woman tries to kill him. So yeah, this basically picks up like right from the Suicide Squad. So like, right. I guess like you could technically watch this without having watched the Suicide Squad because of that little recap, but I don't know why you would watch this if you haven't watched the Suicide Squad.
I feel like Suicide Squad is the introduction to Peacemaker. Like,
yeah.
That's how you even like the character at all.
Yeah, I feel like it can be weird if people just watch this without watching the movie.
Yeah, and plus if you watched this and then went back and watched Suicide Squad, it wouldn't be the same Peacemaker. You'd be like, this is kind of weird watching it backwards.
Well, that's something that struck me because like, if you just watch the Suicide Squad, like, he comes off as, like, you know, a pretty shitty guy.
Yeah.
And they kind of instantly have to make you like him, so they instantly kind of soften, like, who he was in the movie, it seemed like.
Okay.
Well, I mean, because, you know, in the movie, he has that line about, like, I'll kill as many men, women, and children as I need to get peas. But, like, and they reference that line, like, in this show. But then, like, he very soon, like, because, like, the one woman that he has a crush on hardcore, like, you know, kind of tells him, like, he's a piece of shit. And that kind of makes him, like, think about it. And then, like, we'll get to it, but a couple episodes in, then he's tasked with, like, you know, killing that family of butterflies, and he can't do it. So yeah, it seems like they knew they had to make him, since he's the protagonist of the show, they had to make him, you know, a little less shitty than he was in the movie. It seemed like. I'm trying to think, like, that first episode, like what. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about his dad, played by Robert Patrick. So this guy is like, we find out very quick, like, he's a really shitty guy, right? He's a shitty father. He's a straight up, like, racist, like, but at the same time, he's like a fucking genius. Like, he's like a Tony Stark fucking genius.
Exactly.
That makes all these Peacemaker helmets. And I'm like, is there, like, anyone like that in real life who's like a scientist or something, like a real fucking genius, but at the same time like a hardcore racist?
That's what I was thinking. And like at the same time, he lives in that shitty little house, but then he's got these awesome helmets that he's making. Like, he couldn't do anything else with that house, or like get a nicer house. Like, he has these mental resources.
well, and plus he's got that closet in his house, like the fucking TARDIS from Doctor Who.
Yeah,
where it's like somehow like enormous, like infinite space on the inside that holds all of his like helmets and shit.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, what the. Like,
I mean, I could picture an intelligent racist. I'm sure there are lots of them, but like the level of intelligence that he displayed, like, and also having been a hero in the past, I guess. I don't know much about his past. Like, he seems like he was like almost like a KKK type figure.
Yeah, it's weird because like it seems like
because he's the White Dragon.
The White Dragon, like like a KKK kind of guy, and it seems like he had done prison time before. So like it sounded like he was basically a supervillain that got caught or something.
I guess so.
But at the same time, like, doesn't John Cena at some point say that, like, the one thing his dad and him have in common is that, like, they fight crime? And I'm like, and there's that scene where it shows him as, like, a little kid and his father's having him, like, kill a guy, like, stab him to death. But
yeah, did it ever really reveal who that was?
no, I just figure, you know, a quote unquote bad guy. But you would think, like, his dad comes off as such a racist, you think, like, his major people he'd be going after would be, like, minorities and shit.
Right.
And so it was a little odd. And then also, like, his dad, like, I don't know what he did as the White Dragon back in the day, but apparently, like, not enough to keep him in prison forever. Like, he was out. So, yeah, his character was just a little perplexing to me.
Who knows? Now, there's also a scene, like, part of John Cena's backstory is that, like, when he was a kid, he had a fight with his brother and accidentally killed him.
Yeah.
And then it was like, did it go over why they had that fight or what was happening?
Just to toughen them up, right?
It just, yeah, it seemed like his dickhead dad and, like, all of his redneck buddies were like, oh, we're going to toughen these kids up.
So they put him in a pit to fight.
Yeah, and they thought they were just, like, fighting for fun, but then he just, like, got a weird blow on his brother that killed him.
Right. And his brother had all these white bubbles coming out of his mouth like he ate cyanide or something.
Yeah, that was a weird choice, wasn't it? I'm like, I guess that's how people die.
Maybe he had like a seizure or something.
I think that's kind of what they...
Okay.
Yeah, like he had a seizure is what it looked like because he was kind of, shaking like that. A little bit weird, but... and I guess that's right after that, I think in this last episode, like, that's when he, like, committed himself to peace.
Yeah.
All right. He was like...
took a vow.
He took a vow or he was praying or something.
Yeah. And so, like, yeah, the episode ends with him, like, he hooks up with the woman at the bar who turns out to be a butterfly. Now, did it turn out like that woman, like, didn't intend to kill him from the time he was at the bar, but then he left his, like, stupid, like, assassin notebook at her house.
Right, he had some portfolio.
Once she saw that, like, he was tasked with killing another butterfly, that's when she went into, like, kill mode.
So just by pure coincidence, like, he went in and shagged this broad who happened to have this butterfly parasite in her.
I mean, it is a coincidence, but they do at least establish that there's a lot of these butterflies in the whole world.
Yeah, but I mean, this woman, she was like his type. It seemed like she targeted him because she was like 1980s, teased hair, all the same music he listens to. Like,
that's, I was wondering about that too. And the other thing is like apparently butterflies still like to fuck.
yeah.
Well, it seems like they are to some extent influenced by, like, the people they take over because they have their memories. And, like, you do see, like, double agents, and you do see, like individuals that kind of go to the human side. So I think there is a little bit of range there.
But yeah, I was a little confused because, like you said, it seemed almost like she was a plant for him because she was, like, so similar to him. But then, like, yeah, it just turned out it was a random thing where she saw the notebook. So I was like, yeah, that I thought was a little weird, but I was like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, like, let's talk about, like, the different helmets he has in the show because, like, some of these, I guess you could say were science-based, like the sonic boom or whatever, but then there seems like others that are just, like, magic-based. And there's, like, the one they never use that he talks about, this one will give everybody scabies within, like, a certain... Yeah. And it's like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's not... Like, probably wasn't a great one to use.
Very random.
Yeah, I don't remember all the helmets.
There was, like, the levitation one that just takes off, which, again...
The torpedo.
Seems kind of mad. Yeah, the torpedo.
The sonic boom seemed like the most useful one.
Yeah, especially since it, like, vaporized the chick at the beginning.
The first one, yeah. Like, it completely destroyed her. Now, what doesn't make sense is, like, he used it, like, that won him his first fight against Butterfly, and then, like, the next 2 or 3 episodes, like, he doesn't wear a helmet at all. I'm like... You're out here fighting these things, and the only thing that saved your ass last time was this helmet. But for all these missions, you're just like, fuck it.
Well, I mean, the one where they go to the factory, he does wear the X-ray one so he can see that they're butterflies.
Right, but it skips like a couple episodes.
And also they mentioned like the sonic boom one only has like 3 or 4 booms in it, and then it dries up. But
I'd
still
use those 3 or 4.
Yeah, it would seem like a good idea.
Yeah.
But then, like, if he's going in with his team, it seems like he'd pose a danger to them.
But also, like, in the first episode, like, he wears the helmet into the restaurant. Like, you're going to wear that helmet? He's like, yeah, it's part of my outfit or costume or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like, they shame him into taking it off, and he just, like, leaves it off for multiple episodes. Like, this is weird. Another thing that happens is, like, they bring the eagle in, like, on the episode when he goes home. And it's there for 1 or 2 episodes. And then it disappears for, like, a couple episodes. I'm like... Was this just too much CGI? Was this too expensive to have Eagly around all the time? It was just kind of weird. I don't know, a couple weird choices.
I feel like I would have gotten tired of Eagly though at some point. Like if they kept like, shoving them down your throat. Like, okay, it's a CGI eagle in this show. I get it. I don't want to keep watching it over and over again.
At least the CGI was decent on him.
Yeah.
Unlike when you watch CW shows and they have like King Shark and you're like, maybe you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. And go back to animation.
Let's see. Episode 2 was Best Friends for Never. John inadvertently frames Augie for Annie's murder. I guess Annie was the woman he hooked up with, the first butterfly that he killed, landing Augie in prison. Meanwhile, Chris berates himself for all the people he's killed, but a friend stops by to pay him a visit. Cheering him up, the team realize someone amongst them is a mole. But who? Did you guys... I did kind of feel kind of stupid that I didn't put it together, but do you know, like... So, like, in episode 1, like you were talking about when he's in the restaurant with his stuff on, like, the one guy's like, yeah, Peacemaker, you're back. And he's like, oh, that's some guy's brother or whatever. And then, like, a couple episodes later, like, when Vigilante is finally unmasked, we see that it's that guy. For some reason, I didn't put that together.
Oh, yeah, I was pretty sure about that one.
I guess I just had kind of forgot about that guy.
Right.
And then he took off, and I was like, oh, yeah, that guy. I was like, I should have put that together, but I didn't. But even, like, I was talking about, like, the weird, like, conversations between them, like in their first meeting when he's like, are you crying? And he's like, no, I'm just like doing face exercises to make my face muscular. And then like Vigilante like believes that or whatever, just those kind of like things. Right. I'm like, I don't know. Seems a bit corny or just a bit silly even for this show. What do you guys think of Vigilante?
I thought the character was fun.
He's all right. I mean, it's kind of like trying to have like a light-hearted view of a complete psychopath.
Yeah.
I guess.
The only thing about him, and again, the cartooniness of this world is like, they even mention like he's like straight up like killed a bunch of people in the past. He's like
right.
A psychopath. I don't believe that he wouldn't already be in prison at this point. But like even like when the group meets him at the beginning, Steve Agee's character is like, hey, isn't that guy like wanted for like multiple like crimes or something? And so yeah, just the fact that guy's, and he even like imprisons himself later and just gets out again, and I'm like, no, like this guy would be in jail.
Yeah, he admitted to killing a guy for tagging, like spray painting.
Oh yeah, and there's that one point where like him and Cena have like a threesome with that one lady, and him and the lady are smoking marijuana, and he's like, dude, if this was 3 years ago, I would have killed you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, gee. Yeah, I'm like... But, I mean, overall, he's an entertaining character. I just didn't buy that. Because it's not like he's a criminal genius or anything. Yeah. I've been like, I just didn't buy that this guy wouldn't have been in prison a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And then I guess they had that whole sequence where he like had to break out of the apartment building, and like he had to tie that couple up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, it's just but they kind of use that couple like a couple times, because like first they lie about like him and like get his dad in jail or whatever.
Right. They bribe them to frame the dad.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, they go back, so they have to try and force him to change his story or something.
Oh, yeah. What do you guys think about the whole, like, Asian police officer and, like, her partner? Like...
It didn't seem realistic to me. I mean, like
an Asian police officer.
No, but I mean, like the whole thing with her was like she was so strict on the law, like the way things were. She was like, he can't go to prison for a crime that he didn't commit. She was fighting everybody tooth and nail about that, and he's like the whole time just being a douchebag to her the whole time. He's like, thanks, blah, blah, some racist name,
Yeah. He's calling her like chopsticks.
Yeah. And she's like, I got to get this guy out of prison. I'm like, what is the logic there? Like, nobody would really do that if somebody was being a dick to them like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember thinking there was that one exchange where he called her like some like funny racist name. And then she had like some comeback, but that she was proud of. But I'm like, no, it wasn't nearly as good as whatever his was.
Well, I know when he called her chopsticks, she called him fork or something. But yeah, there were a few of those exchanges.
Yeah. The next episode was called Better Goff Dead. The team goes after their first butterfly, although Clemson still refuses to tell Chris what a butterfly is because of trust issues. Vigilante tags along and does the job when Chris can't, but the butterflies capture him and Chris and torture Vigilante to get information from Chris. So yeah, like when you're taking your bathroom break, like I was telling him, like it seemed like they kind of instantly had to kind of soften Peacemaker from what he was in the Suicide Squad, so that he wasn't as much of a piece of shit. And I think this was the first episode where they really put that on display, having him where he couldn't pull the trigger on this family.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen this a lot in these universe movies because they want to take a character and humanize them, and they'll shift him pretty quickly to something. And they extended his backstory a little bit, and then they just added new things like he couldn't kill kids or something. And yeah, it was believable enough.
That's the thing about like Sony, like creating all these like villain led movies of Spider-Man, like Venom and now Morbius. And like I didn't see the Venom movies because they look terrible, and I got to say I'm not excited about Morbius, but like. I imagine like they kind of have to make those characters like, not evil, like kind of make them anti-heroes at most so that people can still kind of get behind them.
Yeah, well, I mean, Venom, at least it seems like his inner self is battling with the parasite or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, the good versus evil.
I think... Don't hold me to this, but I think Peacemaker is like the Charleston character that the comedian in The Watchmen is based off of.
I don't.
Because like originally, like Watchmen, Alan Moore was going to write him using all the Charleston characters, like the Question and Captain Adam, and like they became Rorschach and what's his name, Dr. Manhattan, and like. They all had like analogs, and I'm pretty sure Peacemaker was transformed into the comedian, was like the basis for the comedian, which I can understand. Let's see, was there anything else in that episode? What do you guys think of the whole like butterfly? Oh, go ahead.
Was that the episode where somebody's torturing Vigilante and Peacemaker's watching?
Yeah.
And he's like, do it as much as you want,
Yeah.
What was he? Was he like shocking his nipples at first or something?
First he was shocking him, and then he was like cutting off his pinky toe.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't walk without a pinky toe.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of humorous. Isn't that the same episode they introduced the judo master?
Yeah, and you know what? I was like, what is the point of this character? Until like this last episode, they kind of justify it a little bit.
Yeah, he was kind of confusing, like his space.
Yeah, I was just like, what's this guy's like? deal. Like,
MO.
yeah, and then there was the episode where he got shot, and like before he got shot, he was like, the butterflies are, and then
You don't understand the butterflies or something.
Yeah. Although, like, they kind of like just like joke about it, but she like shoots him like through the chest,
Right.
And
it was pretty much like right in his sternum.
Yeah. So I'm like, he should be dead, but like Cena's like, oh, don't worry, he's a ninja. He'll like rearrange his like kidney where his heart is.
He'll turn his kidney into like heart or something.
And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like that guy's dead, but like they're just gonna pave over it,
right? Well, his first set of injuries, like he was hit by a car and like hit in the head with a baseball bat.
Oh yeah, he like crowbarred him a bunch of times.
And
or
like
whatever.
eventually he recuperated from that.
I mean, he did have a helmet, so he was good.
He did have the helmet for the baseball bat. But yeah,
And he can apparently fling Cheetos so hard they like
physically hurt you.
physically hurt you. Yeah, he was like, I don't know.
Do you think they had a paid promotion from Flaming Hot Cheetos?
They did get a lot of product placement,
Yeah,
didn't
they
they?
did.
They probably actually did get a thing from them.
Yeah.
That's
You
how,
don't see that as much as you used to. Like in the 80s, you'll watch a movie and you'd be like, there's just like Coke everywhere or something like that.
some movies do it to where you don't notice it so much, and then some movies are very blatant about it.
Well, like all the products will be there, but they'll also always be like label facing you.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're like, that's a dead on, yeah.
Like I love Man of Steel, but like Sears and IHOP get like some really blatant play in that movie. What do you guys think of because like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies have like really good soundtracks, like a mix of like kind of classic rock and like hits from the 70s, maybe early 80s. This one went with the more like hair metal route, and like
Also less known, cheaper songs.
Yeah. I mean, some of them were noticeable, but yeah, a lot of them I had never heard of. I mean, I was just wondering what you guys thought. To me, I don't know. Maybe I'm like, some of them were okay, and then a lot of them I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I've never been like a hair metal guy, so I mean, but it went with the show, so it's fine.
Yeah, it gives the show kind of an identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna ask, what did you guys think of the whole like butterflies gimmick, like these small aliens taking over people's brains? Like, did you like that?
I thought it fit the show because it wasn't like too massive to where like a bigger hero needed to be involved, and not too small to where we didn't care. I thought it was like the right kind of problem.
You are kind of right about that, because you do see shows sometimes and you're like, if this was really happening, Superman would show up or something. And this one was kind of like low key, like secret ops stuff.
He does eventually show up in a silhouette.
Right.
I was surprised they even had the two characters show themselves.
I know, because at first, like, all four of them are in silhouette, and I'm like, oh, they got some silhouettes.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, Momoa and the Flash are really there, and you're like, okay, they paid these guys a couple bucks.
Yeah. So they could accuse Momoa of fucking a fish.
Yeah, this is like another running joke they had that I was like, okay, yeah, Aquaman fucks fish. Oh, all right.
Guess he's a gay fish.
The next episode was The Chode Less Traveled. Leota prompts Adrian to try and kill Augie in prison before Augie rats on Task Force X based on what Chris has told him. Chris and Amelia bond further. Amelia gives Adrian a ride. Judo Master escapes and has a rematch with Chris. And Clemson has a drink. That's the one where we find out that Myrn is a butterfly at the end. Mm-hmm. You know what's weird is before that reveal happened, I had a feeling like somebody on the team was going to be a butterfly, and like he kind of was my leading suspect just because he was leading the group. I don't know if you guys felt that at all.
And then, well, it was confusing in that like you wouldn't know why really, and then when you kind of figure out like that he actually was on their side, that there are some like double agents within it, is kind of it's like a certain layer of complexity there that I thought was good.
Yeah. I'm glad they introduced that element that like these butterflies aren't like all uniform in their way of thinking. Although he seems to be like one of the outliers. Like,
right, there's only like a couple that show up.
Him and that sheriff guy who eventually gets killed and then turned into a different butterfly.
I had a question about that guy. Is he, when he's first introduced, is he already a butterfly?
I don't think so. I think he's like a crooked cop, like he's a plant or something.
See, what I didn't get, that guy confused me.
Right, he was very confusing, but he was taken over later.
Because he obviously knew that Myrn was a butterfly, right? Or maybe he didn't.
I don't know.
You know, I've seen that guy in like other things. He always plays like a creepy guy, and he's really good at that. But like, yeah, his character confused me as far as like how Myrn knew him, like what their history was.
Well, like somehow he was put in place because they needed to replace whoever was in charge there.
55 seconds left in the second period. The Columbus Blue Jackets are beating the Chicago Blackhawks 4-2.
Alexa, off.
Wow, Alexa felt the need to tell us what was that basketball?
Yeah,
I wonder what
hockey.
I wonder what the fuck we said that like I was like, oh, you need scores.
I don't know. Alexa, like every once in a while, just goes off.
I don't know. It was weird.
Alexa's possessed.
Now you said her name, so she's
Yeah, usually you have to say the name.
But yeah, back to that sheriff guy. Like, what do you think that Well, okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's one thing the butterflies did do is like they were replacing people in power and stuff, and they were trying to get in like that. But then again, like if the what is it, Myrn the Pern. Myrn wanted to get somebody in, but maybe they wouldn't try to get a butterfly in because most of the other butterflies are on the other side of the fence. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like really confused of like how much that guy knew, and like I wouldn't think he would already be a butterfly because I wouldn't think like because we eventually see him get taken over by a butterfly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he couldn't have been a butterfly to begin with, but I don't know how much he knew.
So there was one character where they killed the body first, and then the new butterflies, when they just got there, the butterfly inside the body tries to escape, and the Asian cop, who's now become like a butterfly herself, she kills it, and her partner goes, "You murdered him."
Well, that was the Myrn butterfly.
Yeah. Oh, that was the Myrn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers that.
But yeah, that sheriff guy definitely puzzled me a little bit. Oh, I had another question. So, like, we find out early on that Adebayo, her mom is Amanda Waller. She's the mole in the group.
Right.
And Waller wants her to plant this fake diary in Peacemaker's house.
Right.
What was the overall, like, what was her overall plan?
I think it was like once the mission's over, throw Peacemaker under the bus and just, make it seem like he was just this homicidal psychopath that was on a rampage, right?
I guess getting him back in the prison system. I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure like what her overall plan was. I guess that must have been it, but I wasn't 100% sure.
It wasn't crystal clear. Yeah.
Let's see. Was there anything else in this episode to talk about? I did kind of like that scene in the prison where like Vigilante sits down at the table with the white supremacists and the dad, and he has a whole like
provocation.
Yeah, that was entertaining.
Very confident. I like that.
Yeah. Which he does turn out to be like a pretty good like fighter, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
although I will say,
powers,
like, I think he should have been dead several times over. Because there's that one time where he like basically gets half exploded by a grenade, and he gets like shot and stabbed and shit. I don't know. He seems like he can take maybe more punishment than he should be able to.
Yeah, he did get like towards the end, he got shot in the spine pretty much. It's not great.
Next episode is Monkey Dory. The team go after the distribution hub for the butterfly's nutrients, while Chris bonds with his teammates and Amelia warns warms to the others. Clemson brings in an old friend to keep the police from discovering that's that one guy, that Augie wasn't the one who killed Annie. So yeah, this is the one where they go to that facility and he has like the X-ray vision.
Okay. I think we did skip the part where at this point they'd had the fight at the trailer, right? And where did he get the first butterfly? That was from
That was from when they were tortured in the basement. Because he blows up the one guy, and he says he killed the butterfly, but then we find out
he'd taken it.
he kept it. But I think we're still before the part where the police raid his trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not there yet. But yeah, so they have this big fight at this facility, and they kill like a shitload of butterflies, and they find out. This eventually leads them to figuring out that this stuff is coming from a facility at this barn where they.
Right. Whatever the butterfly needs to live, like this nutrient syrup stuff, is coming from one location, and they've kind of backtracked it to that barn.
Also, like they briefly set up, I forget whether it was Cena. Yeah, I think it was Cena. Like goes to his dad's house, but he doesn't know yet his dad's in prison, and the dad's TV is on, and they mention like there was like a escaped like gorilla from somewhere, or maybe a stolen gorilla. Yeah. And then that comes into play in this episode where we find out that gorilla is a butterfly, and like it's like wrecking shop on all of them. But then Steve Agee's character like cuts it in half with a chainsaw.
Right. They bring him in a few times to kind of like save the day.
Yeah. Oh, skipping ahead so I don't forget. So this very last episode, like he breaks his leg like really bad, right? and then like
in the stupidest way.
yeah. And then like the black lady like runs like through this long field and starts shooting guys. And then he's like
right there
with the helmet, and I'm like, how did this motherfucker crawl his way that fast?
The way to like multiple football fields.
I mean, that was like some cartoon shit right there.
Yeah, that didn't add up.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one who thought that was a little bit weird. But yeah, this episode, after that, like where the guy kills the thing with the chainsaw, like they kind of grow together as a group, and even like the hard ass woman hardcore, she kind of even warms up to all of them and like takes their picture or whatever.
I got the kind of feeling that her and Vigilante are gonna end up together, hardcore.
Oh really?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Rather than her and Cena.
Yeah, they seem like they have chemistry so far. It looks like they get along the best.
I'm not sure, but I think in real life, the woman that plays hardcore and James Gunn might be husband and wife. Or,
yeah, I know they're together. I don't know if they're married. Maybe.
I think he used to actually be married to Pam from The Office.
Oh, really?
And then they got divorced, and now he's with this lady.
Pam from The Office.
Jenna Fisher is her name. Let's see. Next episode is Myrn After Reading. Chris, Vigilante, and Eagly escape from the police with Locke's help, while Song is occupied by Goff and finds hosts for the rest of the butterflies. Meanwhile, Clemson and Amelia reveal to Leota what they've been hiding, while John puts his fingers in his ears again. So yeah, this is the episode where the Asian cop gets taken over by Goff, which we should have mentioned. Goff was the butterfly that John Cena captured.
Mm-hmm. Right, and he'd been feeding and keeping it alive.
Yeah, he'd been feeding, and they even got to the point where it was kind of communicating with him, like tapping on the glass. Mm-hmm. But then that didn't last long, because that's where the sequence comes in you were referring to. The police surround his trailer, because now they have figured out, the Asian detective and have been able to prove that it wasn't John Cena's dad that was at the original
that
scene.
Was from the diary thing, right?
Yeah. God, I don't even remember what all led to it.
Yeah.
The diary did come into play. So now they're trying to get Cena. Him and Vigilante and Goff are all there when the police show up. Vigilante decides to tape Goff's bottle like around his body, so it's like on his back. And so, like, they sneak out of the top of the trailer while the police come in, and then they, like, are hiding out in the trees in the backyard. And, like, the Asian detective, like, kind of hears them in the trees or whatever.
Yeah, something.
And Vigilante falls out. The bottle breaks, and Goff ends up going into the Asian police detective.
Right.
But then, like it said in there, that weird Locke guy, he allows him to escape by like shooting a bunch of officers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I did kind of really like the sequence though, where like she gathers all the butterflies together and basically brings them to the police station, and they start going after everybody.
Right. Basically, they take over all the police, and then they go into prison and take over a bunch of prisoners.
Yeah, I dug that sequence. Mm. And they play I don't remember the song they play, but I remember like liking it and like kind of digging that whole sequence.
Something like She's a Monster.
Yeah, it had monster in it.
Or She's My Monster. Something, I don't remember. She's my favorite monster.
Something like that. Let's see. Going by quick.
You guys ever remember that show, All Real Monsters?
I never watched it.
Never really watched it.
It was like one of those Nickelodeon shows, right?
Yeah.
Man, there's so many of those that I never watched, like that and Doug and Rugrats.
Oh man, I watched all those.
Really? Tell me what the appeal of Doug was. To me,
Doug was worse than anything. He was the worst. He was so bland, and just there was nothing going on in that show. But it was just the cartoon looked kind of like the Simpsons style, sort of, you know. So
he looks like the American Caillou.
I was going to just say he looks like the kid Caillou like grows into to be.
I mean, when people talk about somebody being bland, they talk about Doug and Patty Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
Wait, there's a character called Patty Mayonnaise?
Yeah, well, everybody in that show is pretty much like, I don't know, they're named after weird stuff. He's got a friend named Skeeter who's blue. The girlfriend that he likes, her name is Patty Mayonnaise.
Oh my God, Doug and Patty Mayonnaise.
His dog name's Pork Chop.
Did racist black people make this show?
We'll name him Doug. Don't even give her a real last name. Make it Mayonnaise.
Were there any black people like characters in the show?
Well, I think his friend Skeeter, who was blue, was supposed to be like a black person. I'm not sure.
The racist black people that made the show were like, well, we can't be in this. We'll make them blue.
We're not going to be racist towards ourselves.
We wouldn't be seen by Doug. Yeah, that show, I was like, who watches this? Somebody must.
Just had to watch it. It was on and there was nothing else.
Let's see. Next episode is called Stop Dragging My Heart Around. Leota has second thoughts about the team's mission while Chris Vigilante, Eagly, and John dodge White Dragon and his skinheads. Meanwhile, the butterflies come for Clemson at the motel. Amelia and Leota are there, and one of the team falls in battle. So that's the episode where Myrn dies and his butterfly comes out. That's right, because like the white supremacists, they track him by he's got the bag full of helmets, and he has trackers in the helmets.
Yeah, something like that. And then they tie a helmet to a raccoon to trick them.
That's another thing I thought was so cartoony. Like, they do it off screen, and then he just has a bunch of scratch marks on his face. But I'm like, this show sometimes gets a little goofy for its own good, I think.
Raccoons are hardcore, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, what do you guys think of his dad, like, KKK Iron Man suit, basically?
It looked kind of cool. The horns and everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Vigilante, like, basically, like, ends up, like, stopping him for a while by, like, grenading him, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You know what's weird, though, in that scene, like, yeah, like, Vigilante drops a grenade, which I would think would be so close it would just kill him. He disappears from sight somehow, like, gets behind a tree. I'm like, I don't think I really buy this.
Yeah, with all those guys there.
Yeah,
too.
all those guys there, and, like, nobody sees him, like, crawl off in agony or whatever. I mean, yeah, Vigilante, like, they should reveal that he's a metahuman somehow, because, like, there's no way. Like, he would have to have, like, Wolverine powers almost. I'm trying to think like what else happens in that episode. I mean, he eventually ends up killing his dad.
Yeah, Vigilante finds like a opening in the suit and like stabs him there, and then what's his name? Chris
Which doesn't seem to
over.
hurt him, but it like disables
Disables him a little
some
bit.
of the suit or something.
Yeah, because he tries to use a weapon afterwards and it doesn't work.
Right.
And he's like, "Go ahead and do it, pussy. You won't do it or whatever." And he just
And he shoots
But then in this last episode, they do that thing the other shows have done. Like I remember that. You remember that show Rescue Me with Dennis Leary?
Right.
It was bad about this, where like everybody who died would just end up being like figments of his imagination.
They'd be like ghosts who'd come and talk to him.
Yeah, and so now they're doing that with his dad, and I'm like, you can just let people die. You don't have to bring him. Like I know Robert Patrick's a good
It's
actor,
like,
but
we need some random racism in the show.
I mean, there's plenty more. You don't need to go back to that same character.
it would be kind of funny if he just like pops up every time he can make a racist joke.
You're gonna leave your helmet with her? You know they steal.
Just haunted by a racist ghost all the time. He doesn't really have any power. He just is a jackass.
The power to hurt feelings.
And then there was the finale that we just watched tonight. It's Cow or Never. Although Peacemaker and Adebayo are at odds, the team must kill the cow before the aliens can finish its teleportation. So yeah, basically they track the quote-unquote cow that's producing the stuff that the butterflies eat, to this underground, this barn. And it ends up being like this huge, like, caterpillar alien type
Insect
creature. Looks pretty
creature,
cool,
yeah.
actually. Although I gotta say, as soon as they introduced that torpedo helmet, I'm like, somebody's gonna torpedo into this thing.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
Well, the second he said this is a torpedo helmet, they might as well throw this one away.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the person who uses the torpedo helmet should have all their bones broken, right?
At least their neck.
Yeah.
And like she uses it twice. And like the first time she hits against a hard wall, Yeah, I mean, and the other thing, like, when he killed that woman in the beginning with the sonic boom,
yeah.
she just like exploded in a
Right,
red
she was pretty
mist.
close. She exploded.
But maybe it's just because we couldn't really see it. But on this one, it seemed like they did that several times, and like some people were just like pushed back, and like I guess some people must have.
Yeah, I think it was
disappeared.
proximity
Yeah.
was a key.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there was some decent action with like the gunplay and stuff in this last episode.
Well,
Yeah.
the last episode, everybody seemed immortal. Like
That's true.
They were like fearless. They went out there shooting like 20 guys. Like.
Well, what was weird is like after like the group had killed like 100 of these things, the last like 3 or 4 like broke out the guns and started shooting them back.
Yeah.
And then they all got shot multiple times.
Yeah. Before that, they were all just running around towards them. Like
Yeah,
pick up a
it-
gun.
I will say that like unlike Vigilante, like when Hardcore gets shot, like she at least has ramifications from it. But like at the same time, she seemed like when she was like laying there like coughing up all the blood, I was like, it seems like she would be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not a doctor, but I don't know. These seem like maybe fatal wounds that she wouldn't just come back from.
I always feel a little bit weird when people like cough up the blood because I'm like, well, that must have been a lung shot.
Yeah.
Their lungs filling with liquid and they're going to drown. It's like-
Yeah, like every time there's internal bleeding, from what I've been told, it's usually a really bad sign. But these people cough up blood like it's nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, like I was saying, like there's an overall cartooniness to this show where like like I had that kind of problem with that Birds of Prey movie, which I really didn't like, where like it sometimes devolved into like a Looney Tunes like physics
Right.
where I'm just like,
You're taking me out of this.
yeah, you're taking me out of this a little bit. It's not as bad in Peacemaker,
Yeah.
but I think I do feel it maybe a little bit.
Yeah, the Birds of Prey where she's hitting people with that big fucking hammer.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Yeah. That movie really didn't work for me. Trying to think. You guys think of maybe any other characters or story points that we didn't hit on that maybe you'd like to talk about?
I thought Steve Agee's character was pretty funny, like throughout the whole series.
Yeah, he's one of the better characters. I think he has that whole like PowerPoint sequence.
Yeah.
Man, did you guys like?
Or they're like, he put so much work into this and it's so shitty.
Did you guys like? You know how a lot of episodes had like, if you stuck through the credits, they had like after credits. Did you guys watch those?
I didn't wait for him.
I know I caught a couple, and I don't know.
None of them were like spectacular, but on that episode, you know how like you know, they have that argument because he's like, you put my dad in jail, and he's like, who else could I have done it with? And he just starts like naming a million people. Like the after credit scene is him just doing that more, and I'm like, did they feed John Cena all these people, or is he like actually like?
I think he like ad-libbed that.
Yeah, I'm like, is he ad-libbing all these people because he like did a lot? It was a lot. Actually, a lot of those after credit things were like just like they would go back to a line from the show and just basically expand it, and like it was like them like riffing on it more. You know, like that one him and Vigilante has where like if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, like they extended that one. Like it wasn't good, but it's, just for example, that's kind of some of the stuff they had. Well, they did just yesterday, as we're recording this, they did greenlight this for season 2. Are you guys looking forward to season 2? Are there things you'd like to see in season 2?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it doesn't like. I like that DC has like kind of cordoned off each show, you know, like in a way like where it's not all tied to like one giant narrative. I know they brought like the Justice League at the very end just to show them off, but I hope it stays like in its own little world. Like it's not spilling over to like Batman's issues and Superman and, you know, other people.
You can definitely tell, at least with this series and James Gunn, that, like, he has an affinity for like lesser used characters and like oddball characters. Even like there were characters they didn't use, but like he had like throwaway lines where he mentioned like other like lower tier DC characters. Like I think at one time he mentions Matter Eater Lad, which is just like the worst superhero ever, and things like that. So like, yeah, this show, yeah. Hey, I got a question for you. I was just wondering this because we watched the finale. Like at the very end, like a butterfly shows up at his house. Now, do you guys think that is Goff?
Yeah, yeah.
And do you think they're going to kind of continue this butterfly storyline in season 2 then?
I wouldn't think so. They don't have the source of the milk.
That's what I was wondering. Like
the syrup,
because he even like fed this thing like kind of the last of his jar or whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird though because this is something we didn't really touch on. So like at the very end, like the Asian woman who's, you know, she's the one taken over by Goff.
Yeah.
Like she's like, I'm not gonna kill you. I want you to see this. And like, so she shows him like the caterpillar cow thing, and kind of basically explains that like they came from a planet that was dying because they were stupid like us and basically let their planet go to ruin, right? And so she's like, we got here and we saw that you guys were fucking up in the exact same way, like basically allowing global warming and things like this. So like, she's like, so we took over like, you know, some politicians and some people who could hopefully like save your world. And she's like, I'm doing this because I took a vow. And they basically, this part was maybe a little ham-fisted, but they basically compared it to the vow he took to commit himself to peace. And like, in the end, like he of course decides not to go along like with her, and like, you know, they kill the creature and everything. But like, it seems like You think they're just gonna totally abandon that storyline? Like, just all the butterflies died because they ran out of their shit.
I mean, that's kind of what I think, and then there'll be a new enemy.
Now, this essentially means though that like all the people, like all the host bodies will just die. I guess, right?
I don't know.
I mean, the host body's already dead. Like, they killed them to get inside.
That's basically true. Yeah, but like the whole world will see a bunch of people drop dead, right? That they don't know are butterflies. It seems like they'll have to address it at least a little bit in the next season. Maybe I'm wrong. I wonder what they'll do with the. I imagine they'll bring back the judo master character.
Yeah, he seems like he's still going.
Yeah, I thought that cow shouldn't have bit it at the end. That big caterpillar or whatever, because it didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't a bad guy. It was
right.
It was just food. I was like, maybe you could just teleport it somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, it might have actually been interesting if he would have like went along with her plan, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I guess that's what a season 2 is for.
Yep.
I kind of feel like that judo master guy will be like an antagonist for a little while, but then he'll just end up joining their team.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm trying to think like some other like lower tier DC characters that they could add to the group.
I don't know enough DC characters to be able to figure that out.
I'm sure they'll find.
Is Vigilante even like a real character?
Yeah, he's very different in the comics. Like, like I read, he had like, he had a series of comics in the 80s. And I read them, like, they're not great, and he's kind of a weird character. But famously, like, at the end of that comic run, like, he commits suicide.
Oh.
And, like, I don't think they've used that character a lot since then in the 80s. So
Wow.
that death maybe stuck around a bit. I'm sure they're comics, so somebody probably has used him, but not a lot.
That's dark.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess we can do this. What would you guys give Peacemaker season 1 on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd give it between a 6 and a 7.
Yeah, I'm like 7-ish.
Yeah, 6.5 maybe.
Yeah, I'm the same. Good, not superb or anything. It did amaze me though. Yeah, just like I guess Twitter maybe just like amplifies of like the people that really love shit, but like people were like making this show out to be like the best thing since sliced bread, you know, and I was like,
well, it's like 95 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean, people seem to really like it. I mean, and we like it too. It just it seems like most things that like are either like the best thing or the worst thing.
Yeah.
You know. But it's just okay. Let's see what. I am kind of getting excited though, because in a couple weeks the Batman will be out, and we can review that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
It's crazy because I don't see a lot of commercials for it.
You know, well, it's weird because like I haven't watched like regular TV in forever, so like. Like, I imagine, like, if you watch regular TV, there's probably a lot of commercials for it.
Maybe.
But it is kind of hard to gauge nowadays just how much stuff is being advertised and shit like that. Oh, by the way, did you see that new trailer for Doctor Strange?
Oh, yeah.
I like that trailer.
Yeah, it looks good. I'm curious as to, like, what all is going to be involved in that movie, because it's going to be huge. Like, it's going to have so many different characters. I am concerned about the Kang storyline. Like, is that going to be part of this multiverse storyline, or is that going to be its own thing?
I don't think so. I think his next appearance, oddly enough, is supposed to be in the next Ant-Man movie.
Okay.
And then I imagine they'll have to use him in Loki season 2.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they'll use him in this movie. It seems like they got too much other shit going on.
Okay.
But just the fact in the trailer that they introduced Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so they're gonna, I guess, say that the X-Men universe was part of the multiverse.
Well, I didn't see. Isn't Deadpool going to be in this movie too?
I haven't heard that, but I'd imagine it's a possibility.
Yeah, so I think they're going to introduce a lot of new characters. Like X-Men is going to be introduced, I think.
But I mean, I would think like when they finally have the X-Men like in this universe, like they're not going to have him be the Charles Xavier of the MCU. I wouldn't think, because he's like in his 80s. Like I imagine they're going to like have to, recast, and he's just going to be like part of like a multiverse of Charles Xavier. I don't know.
Okay, so maybe the X-Men in this universe are from a different universe from the ones that we've seen the movies prior. Like,
I would think so. Because I don't just see him like trying to reuse a bunch of the people they've used in the past.
Couldn't.
Yeah, they couldn't. But I think they're kind of using him as like a bridge to maybe introduce the X-Men.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. That'd be pretty cool. But I mean, like, his X-Men are those old cast members. So, like, what would he be doing exactly in that case? Like, if it's new people?
Well, some people are speculating because in the comics they have like that Illuminati.
Oh yeah,
which is like, him, Reed Richards,
Tony Stark,
Namor,
Black Panther,
Black Bolt, I think too in the comics.
Black Bolt, yeah.
Which I don't think they'll use in this movie, but like some people are speculating that like they'll maybe at least introduce the concept of that Illuminati in this movie, and like he would be like a member of that or something.
Oh, okay.
So like,
so
it's
he would have knowledge about X-Men, but it wouldn't be his X-Men. Okay.
Yeah, something like that, or it's interesting. I don't know exactly what they're gonna do.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is interesting, especially the Illuminati. Like, they're like this overarching high table that, like, knows everything that's going on in the Marvel Universe. So we'll kind of have some like that mystery we had from WandaVision, like, where we were like, what's going on, I think we'll have more of that with the Illuminati.
Yeah, and it's looking like Wanda's going to play a fairly big part in this movie. And they're kind of carrying on that thing where it looks like I wouldn't say she's going to be a villain, but at least an antagonist to a certain degree.
Yeah, I've heard like different people say different things. Like she might be controlled by like Dormammu or Chthon or something.
Oh, I don't think that, but after watching WandaVision, I wouldn't think they'd be like put her motivations on something like that.
That's true, yeah, because she did have her own selfish motivations.
And she's got like the Darkholm book or whatever.
And that does like over time like impact the person who's reading it. Like it has a sway over them.
I thought when they originally like introduced the Disney Plus like superhero shows that they were going to make it so like, you could watch those, but if you just watch the movies, like you'll still be up to speed. But it looks like they're pretty directly referencing WandaVision in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to say about her beforehand, like to like summarize the whole show, like let you know like what's important. I think they're probably going to do that because from what I understand, what's his name? Kevin Feige said that you don't need to watch the shows to know the movies. So I think they're going to like summarize all that stuff in the movie and let you know.
Okay. They very well could.
Yeah.
I mean, I was definitely interested to see Doctor Strange, but I will say, like, this trailer made me more excited to see it.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was...
It's the next
very
big movie.
interesting. Yeah. Definitely interested.
Seems like Marvel keeps making these big home run movies, man. Like, these big blockbusters that everybody goes and watches, spends $1 billion on.
Yeah, they're doing really well. And, like, they're finding ways to, like, keep it interesting.
Yeah.
It is going to get hard for them. I mean... as things go along, though, like, they wrote out Tony Stark, they killed him, which is fine. But, like, eventually, like, people like Chris Hemsworth and, like, more and more of the actors that have been around for a long time are going to either get tired of doing it or, and it's like, are they going to eventually kill everybody or write everybody off in a weird way, It seems like eventually, like, it's going to get kind of bizarre,
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think this is, like, they're, like, 20, I want to say, like, 27, 28 movies or something into the MCU, which is crazy that a franchise has, like, had that many movies in it.
It all started with Blade. Well, I mean, because Marvel was going bankrupt, and Blade was a movie that saved them from going bankrupt. And then after that, they were able to like.
And then they like the X-Men. Yeah, I don't know how like, but I'll be honest, when the original Blade movie came out, like I had never heard of Blade, and I didn't know until years and years later that he was even a Marvel character.
Yeah, same here.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
I mean, X-Men, yeah, but Blade, I had no fucking clue.
Yeah, I thought it was just a vampire thing. I didn't think it was like a comic book superhero.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. I had no clue at that time.
And vampires were pretty popular, like around 2000. Like all these vampire movies came out around then. I don't know, and they got popular afterwards too with Twilight. But
Right.
I don't know, they were popular. I thought it was just that.
Maybe should we do Twilight in review?
I think Lasher would love that.
I don't think any of us would.
One of us has already watched all of them.
Wait, is that true?
No,
Oh,
Well, you love terrible movies. So.
I do love terrible movies. I've seen like the breakdown of Twilight. Yeah. It's terrible.
Roman never made you watch all of them.
No, that's one movie she hasn't like been big on. Luckily, it was probably past her time to like watch those movies. But yeah, if she was a teenager, I would have had to watch them.
All right, guys, should we wrap this bad boy up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, everybody who watched and listened, we thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this review of Peacemaker. Please subscribe both to the YouTube channel and your podcast service of choice, and leave us comments about how you like this review, and maybe chime in with other things you'd like us to review. We'd be happy to do it. Well, maybe unless it's Twilight. Oh, somebody left their phone on like a rookie.
Well, usually she's ringing OJ's phone.
And also, besides subscribing to everything, go ahead and subscribe to our Twitter feeds and interact with us there. Guys, where can people find you on Twitter?
At a name for this too, and that's the number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And also watch Miss Sherlock on HBO. Hashtag save Miss Sherlock.
Well, you said it got canceled. We got to bring it back now.
Yeah, save it. Bring it back. It might be, I hate to say it, I'll always root for it, but it's probably too late for that Becker.
Like 20 years too late. Yeah.
Reboot. But Miss Sherlock has a chance. So save Miss Sherlock. Hashtag.
Like if you ever make a time machine, go back and cancel Becker from ever starting.
Don't listen.
Save Zach the heartache.
Forget about Hitler. Just go back and cancel Becker.
I'm going to go back in time and save it. It's going to last at least 10 seasons.
That's y'all's MCU, just erasing and saving Becker over and over again.
He's got like a TiVo from 1980, just loaded to the brim with Becker. I can't lose this.
Must preserve this time, this particular time frame.
All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.